Well, here's my take on free will. Free will is a pretty interesting concept, and in attempting to define it, to define what free will actually is, one is in essence trying to answer the question, what am I? Essentially, we think that we know what free will means. It means our ability to act of our own volition. Well, that's all very well, but I think that there are restrictions on free will that are inherent in being a human being and actually existing in the physical world. But this doesn't mean that free will does not exist. It just depends on how you care to define it. As I say, I inhabit the physical universe. I'm bound by the laws of physics. I'm bound by the fact that my consciousness is seemingly trapped in this body, which I have to feed and keep warm. As far as I know, my consciousness will die along with my body if I neglect it. I'm not sure of that, because we don't really know what consciousness is. In fact, I would say we haven't got a clue what consciousness is. But something tells me that it's not a good thing if I defy the laws of biology or if I defy the laws of physics. There could be detrimental effects on me. So I'm trapped in that regard. If I want my consciousness to roam freely around the universe, well, maybe that is actually possible. Who knows? If I just close my eyes and imagine that I'm in Saturn, has my consciousness actually gone there? What does that mean for it to do that? So yes, maybe my consciousness is not really trapped by my body, but for all intents and purposes, I feel as though it is. So I have to assume that it is, and act accordingly. So there's some restrictions on my free will right then and there. There's also all kinds of other things. I can't alter a whole pile of overt things in the world, like social mores, folkways. There's a lot of stuff that society will restrain me from doing. But even so, within those bounds, I still have a great deal of freedom of action. But in terms of my actual ability to exercise freedom in the world, or to exercise personal freedom, I think that, like I say, there are some inherent restrictions on it. But I think also that, in a sense, it's impossible not to exercise free will. Everything that I ever do in this strange kind of existence that we call the present, this sort of almost non-existent barrier between the past and the future, is called the present. Now, the present isn't something that one can measure, is it? One can measure hours, but the present lasts. It doesn't last. It's not even instantaneous. It just is. So, in the present, at every instance of existence inside the present, in other words, every instant of existence, I have to decide what I'm going to do. And no one else can make these decisions for me. I have to decide to breathe. I have to decide to turn my head this way, to make my eyes go this way. When each one of these is in itself a decision that I take among millions of other possible decisions. So that is free will. It's free will that I almost have no choice but to exercise. So is it free will? Is it free or isn't it? It depends on how you want to look at it. The same thing as being hampered by the physical universe. Well, you may be free, you may not be free. It just depends on one's point of view. Because, like I say, I'm trapped in time, whereas I can only actually overtly act in the present. Even though I can make plans for the future, I can't guarantee that those plans will come to fruition. And my ability to make those plans come to fruition is often completely circumscribed by events that are totally beyond my control. So, yes, I am free to do what I want, in spite of whether or not I want to be. Free will, if you ask me, also begs the question, what would you call an unfree will? How is it possible to be completely unfree? How can I have all of my free will taken from me? I don't think that that's actually possible. The if there's another force out there acting on me in every conceivable way, everything that is me, in my opinion, ceases to exist, because I am no longer in control of anything. Let's say that my free will is subverted to the point where every last little tiny thing that I ever do is somehow controlled outside of me, is somehow controlled by something beyond me, my consciousness, my me-ness. I don't think that that's a state that's actually possible. Or if it is possible, then if all the things that I have to do in the world are done for me, in a sense, that's perfect freedom. Because I don't have to worry about feeding my body. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't have to think about anything. I just have to be in this universe that takes care of itself. Complete loss of freedom might actually be the ultimate freedom in and of itself. Now, I understand that all of these points of view that I'm putting across tend to make certain assumptions based on human consciousness. I believe that human consciousness exists. In fact, it's the only thing that we really do know that exists. It seemingly is trapped by things like time, space, necessity, this kind of thing. But still, it does exist. So, even if my human body were to be completely and totally taken over by something else, I still believe that there's this in here which is still making decisions on what to think about, on what to, on how to interpret the world around it, how to receive the impulses coming in from outside, even though I can no longer act on them or act in that world. So I think just in the very nature of things, we are both completely imprisoned and completely free. This is illustrated in certain Eastern religions, but the most fascinating ones that I know of are Hinduism and Jainism. The Jains say that the physical world is such an impediment, or they seem to say, at least in my limited understanding of them, that the best thing to do is to ignore it and pretend like it's not there. In other words, sit down and stop. That inevitably means starving to death, dying of thirst, whatever. So be it, say the Jains. The world is just a big trap. What's in here must be freed, and the only way to do it is to simply refuse to accept the reality of phenomenal existence. The other side of the coin is also an interesting Eastern religion from the Indian subcontinent, Hinduism, as illustrated in the Bhagavad Gita, where the Prince Arjuna is overwhelmed by the fact that he has to do so much in the world, especially things that he definitely does not want to do. Whereas God Krishna, who's actually his chariot driver but is actually God, explains to him, look, the world is going to keep going in its own merry way, whether you are involved in it or not. So you might as well just go along for the ride, even though you don't take it all that seriously. So in the midst of mayhem and pain and suffering, overt suffering, chaos, craziness, up in here, you're still not really part of it. Be in the game, but not of the game, of course. Two quite different points of view, both coming from the Indian subcontinent, and both points of view sort of fed off each other at the time that both philosophies were being worked out. How does one deal with phenomenal existence, with the fact that one has to live in this universe? And with particular emphasis to the idea of free will. Is free will a good thing or a bad thing? Is it inevitable or is it not? That's just my take on it, and it's my take this week. Thank you.